What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, we're going to be discussing if the new Batman Arkham game could actually take place after Arkham Knight. Now, to start off this video, I just want to say welcome to the new week and also happy Christmas Eve. This video, I wish this game was coming out. This video is coming out on Christmas Eve, so you guys are watching it this day. Truly appreciate it. You know, taking time to spend with me, but you guys truly rock. Hopefully, you guys have an awesome Christmas Eve and awesome Christmas Day. You guys are the absolute best. You guys have been amazing to me for months, so hopefully you guys all have an amazing day. We're going to be having videos today as well as Thursday, and then next week, Monday and Thursday, so a little less amount of videos. Maybe space me out. I know I can get quite tiring to listen to, but we're going to have just slightly less videos over the next couple weeks, and we'll start to pick it up again, like 2 to 3 videos a week, really, until the game actually gets announced. Now, we made a string of videos last week, a lot of them in a row, that again, like I've said in all of those, that they're very important that you watch all back to back. For this video, I don't really think it's all that important that you've watched all of them. One of the main ones, though, is I made a video last week, I believe last Friday, where I talked about, like, what exactly is happening with the name, really, Arkham Legacy, right? Was it like a fake name? Is it? And I've seen people even suggest that. Is it like a name that maybe was just thrown out there to get people away from the idea? Like, did it actually ever exist? Does it exist now? How does it connect to that canceled game? So things like that, and that's what we talked a lot about on Friday. I could probably expand upon it. I probably will expand upon it in this video, because what I want to talk about in this video is, here's the deal, and I don't really think I said it well enough on Friday, so I'm going to try my best to do it here as well. With all of these leaks not coming true fully, while I still believe that the game is being made, while I still believe a lot of the leaks, now you do have to pick and choose, some leaks definitely contradict each other. I do think this game is being made. I believe a lot of the parts and what we've seen, Court of Owls, stuff like that. The fact that it's not out yet, or and when I say not out, by the way, all the times I say that, I'm only talking about an announcement, like telling us that they're making the game. The fact that they haven't said it yet does put things in doubt, and you do have to, at some point, I feel like, and even if you don't want to do this, even for just the fun of the video, just to give me something to talk about, you can go back and you can start to question, well, is it actually this or that? And for the longest time, we talked about this on Friday, I've always assumed this was a game that was before Arkham Asylum, but after Arkham Origins. Timeline fits. The idea of the canceled Damian Wayne game, which would have been a sequel to Knight, and that's the biggest thing. When that happened, obviously the internet exploded and people were basically talking about, like, the ramifications of that happening. You know, where did they really go? And that's the biggest question, right? Where did they go from that game? Because from all things we can kind of look at, that was the last thing they were working on. Like, they are maddening, right? And they're very frustrating. They haven't told us what they're working on now, but from all of these leaks and all these canceled projects, we do have a pretty solid idea of what they had been trying to make for all of these years. The Suicide Squad game, the Wonder Woman game, this Damian Wayne. So, like, we know kind of a timeline of what they were doing. And again, I've talked about it before, it seemed like the path was to get away from Batman, get away from the Arkham name. Then it seemed like the idea was, well, we'll still do Batman. And remember, we had this discussion even before we found out about this Damian Wayne game, and it still holds true. Then maybe they went into Batman and said, okay, well, we're going to go back to something we feel comfortable with, something that worked with Arkham Origins, but we maybe want to stay away from the Arkham name. Let's try and do something different. Let's do Damian Wayne. Let's have the Nemesis system. Let's make it a very different kind of Batman game. And that is what they were working on. For all intents and purposes, that's what they were working on with this Damian Wayne game. Now, if that was called Arkham Legacy, that was called Arkham Legacy. Again, moving away from that name to kind of just this new Batman game, I guess the biggest question is, where did they go from there? They canceled that game, and then what happened? Well, firstly, just to reinstate what I have said countless times in countless videos, I don't think that when that news broke that the game was canceled, that's when they canceled it. I don't think that's how it works. I feel like that game was canceled, and in fact, people had said that game was canceled years ago, back in like 2017 at the, that's the soonest it was canceled. It could have actually been even before then as well, but that is when the game was canceled, and they've been working on a new game for years now. Again, the question is, did they decide, and for this whole time, I've only ever, I'll say that, maybe you guys haven't, but I've always just assumed they've went back to after Origins. The Roger Craig Smith idea makes sense. You haven't asked Kevin Conroy. I mean, that's one of the things you can say is official and confirmed, right? Is he said they haven't asked him to do anything. And if this game is after Arkham Knight, so this is an argument you can make against this video's topic is if it's after Arkham Knight and Batman is in it, if Batman is in it, then you'd have Kevin Conroy, and he said he hasn't been asked. Now, it's possible that maybe they just didn't ask him yet. If you're on the side of people that say that this game is early in development, that would make sense. But if the game is being made, like if the game has been made for like 2 years and they're still making it, but if it's been in development for at least 2 years, they would have done voice work by now. They just would have. That's just how games work. They don't wait till the last second. The voice actors actually do work from the very beginning to the very end. Okay, like The Last of Us Part 2, for an example, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, they've been doing the voice work since it first started, and they really do stuff all the way up because they have to do, they have to go back, kind of like reshoots. They have to go back and do stuff both with capturing their performance and also just the audio booth to do just different sounds and different like takes on their voices. They have to do that. So, and that takes a very long time. So my point is, Kevin Conroy would have been asked by now if he was in the game. So I still, here's my answer. I still do believe it's after Arkham Origins. I feel like the first 6 minutes is me trying to actually convince myself it could be after Night. I think that is a good idea. And I've always said that. I like the idea of getting away from the Arkham name. I like the idea of trying something different. So the idea of doing an after Arkham Knight game, but not calling it Arkham, leaving Arkham behind because that ended with the trilogy and then also Arkham Origins, which everybody, doesn't include in the trilogy, but, leaving that behind to start your own Batman thing. We've talked about how maybe then you don't really get to compare them to the Arkham games, and that's a good thing for Warner Bros. Montreal, that you don't need to have them looming in the background where it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's a Batman game, but we're trying to stay away from that. So there are a lot of advantages to doing that, and that I feel like that is a lot of the reason. If I got to ask them that, I feel like that's what they would say a lot of that stuff back at me, that is where their mind was with this Damian Wayne canceled game. Again, whether it was called Arkham Legacy or whatever, we've gotten so many different names, it's hard to keep track of, and it's also hard to know what's actually in it. But I feel like because the game is still fundamentally there, and it is still being made, and we are still getting it, I want to believe the Court of Owls stuff is happening. All indications really has shown that the Court of Owls is the main thing in that whole storyline. It makes a lot of sense. Roger Craig Smith, yeah, he's in other games, and yeah, it seems like all of those teases he's done has been for other things rather than Batman. At the same time, I just believe that they would do that. They would do a prequel again to Arkham Asylum. I feel like it kind of gets dicey after Arkham Knight, and also, if you do something after Arkham Knight, again, like, why you could argue if they have the name Arkham in it or not. Because if you do it after Arkham Knight and you call it Arkham Legacy, why not just lose the Arkham thing? And you could say, well, maybe they are doing something after Knight and not calling it Arkham. But is it still part of the same universe as what's happened? Here's where I stand on it. Either do a in-between game between Origins and Asylum again. Either have that be your game, or make a completely separate, like, leave this universe. This is Universe 1. Make a Universe 2 and make whatever you want. If you want to make a standalone Batman game that's not called Arkham, make your own thing. Not Kevin Conroy. Like, have somebody else do it. I mean, Roger Craig Smith never did it before then. Have somebody else do it. Have your own interpretation of it. Tell your own story. You can start, like, yeah, you'd be rebooting it. You'd pretty much be rebooting it. But at the same time, Rocksteady's not going back to it. At least we hope that they're not going to go back to it. You don't really expect anybody else besides Rocksteady or Warner Bros. Montreal to touch it. And yeah, I mean, Arkham Knight was only, at this point, 4.5 years old, but, like, we're getting there. Like, it's 4.5 years old. It soon will be 5 years old. Arkham Asylum is 10.5 years old. I mean, like, these games are they're getting older, and it's going to be weird because it's a weird era. Like, we're all growing up, right? Everybody's growing up. I don't know all of your ages, but I assume you're close to my age. I know some people are younger, some people are older, but we're kind of in this age where, like, eventually things are probably going to have to... I'm not a big fan of reboots. I'm not a fan of reboots for just rebooting it, just to do it, just to get the extra money, stuff like that. I don't like that. Or rebooting it but changing the lead, or changing the gender, or changing the race, or, like, stuff like that. Doing it for different reasons that aren't exactly right. I'm not a fan of them doing that. But but sometimes you run out of ideas. Sometimes you run out of creative space. And I feel like you're going to see that. Like, even the Marvel movies eventually, like, some of them may have to get rebooted. They just may have to, because yeah, you can keep telling stories and you can keep introducing characters, but you're not always guaranteed that they're going to do as amazing as the things that come before it. And then eventually you may just decide, well, we have to reboot something we already did. Imagine if Iron Man gets rebooted in, say, 10 years. Is that too soon? Because it kind of feels like it would be, but at the same time, things have been rebooted faster. And we're just kind of in this age of everything moving so quick that eventually we're going to have to go back and fix not fix, but redo what was already done. You know what I mean? It's a weird question to ask, but that's ultimately where I stand on this game. Is if you ask me right now, if they rebooted the Batman games, if Warner Bros. Montreal took it in a completely different direction, new game, new universe, nothing that happened in these 4 games happen, but they get the creative freedom now to do whatever they want. They have their own voice cast, all that stuff. Would you take that? Or would you be mad about that? I wouldn't be mad. I think that would be okay. So that's ultimately, I guess, a long-winded, and I really actually did like this. I took this a very different way than I expected to take this topic. That's kind of my answer to this topic. I don't think it's I don't think it's after Arkham Knight. I think it's still after Origins, but before Asylum. And there's, I guess, factual things, the Court of Owls, Capture the Night, them tweeting literally beware the Court of Owls, that kind of stuff. Kevin Conroy saying he's not doing it, stuff like that. You can point to those tangible things, but another, like, my own personal opinion and going down the rabbit hole would be what I just said. Either do that and keep it Arkham, and we know how powerful the Arkham name is. We've already talked about all that kind of stuff. The Arkham name is valuable. If they're going to do it, that it's fine. I don't mind having another Arkham game. If you're going to do a game after Arkham Knight, why bother? In a way, it's like, why bother? Why not just do that, but not have it be Arkham, and furthermore, have it be completely separate? And to finish that, you could say, well, yes, Alex, thank you for saying in that 12-minute statement what is actually happening. The sad thing is that is what they were doing, it sounds like. For all intents and purposes, it sounds like that is where they arrived, that we want to do something different, we want to do something bold, we want to take what worked with past games and even the Middle-earth games, we want to take these things, but we want to start separating ourselves, so let's do something different, and maybe we can loosely tie in the story. We're going to keep it maybe in the same universe, but it was never, nothing is confirmed, right? It was never confirmed that it was in the same universe as Arkham Knight. It probably would have been, and it probably was, but it's, it doesn't have to be. You can tell a Damian Wayne, later years Batman story without having the Arkham games happen. You just set up your own universe. So I really think that would have been, and that probably was the plan, and then now they've resorted to going back to basically what worked. Now, the problem with that is it needs to actually come out. They need to actually show it to us because it will work. They just need to show it. There's my long-winded answer. I actually really liked this topic. Hopefully, you guys did too. Leave it in the comments below. Anything you guys want to say about this topic. What do you think? What do you think happened to that game? What do you think their process was? Do you think this game takes place after Night? Where do you think this takes place in the timeline? Let me know all of those things in the comments below. Again, happy Christmas Eve or Merry Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, you guys have an awesome day. Thursday, we will be back with a brand new video, and I hope to see you guys there.